Welcome everyone. Today we are here for the Society of Thoracic Surgeons Congenital Heart Surgery Database User Group call. Today is Tuesday. Is today Tuesday, October 5th? It is Tuesday, right? Yes. My days are running together, so I apologize. Let's see here. On the call with me today from the STS side, we have myself, Carol Crone. We have Chastity from the core group, as well as Leslie. Our IQVIA team today, we have Melanie and Joe and Jean. So thank you everyone for joining today. As always, the Q&A is open, so please be sure to submit your questions via the Q&A. If you need to raise your hand to clarify or would like to ask a question, again, just please use the raise hand function and make sure that your microphone is enabled. So with that, we've got a lot to cover today, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to just give a super brief STS update. I don't have a lot from my end. Then I'll turn things over to Joe for the IQVIA update, and then Joe will hand things off to Mel to give a risk-adjusted dashboard preview, give an overview of how the risk-adjusted dashboard is going to look and how and what you can expect. And then, as always, we'll end the call today with your user feedback. As always, if you have a ticket number, please be sure to provide that so Jean and her team can start looking into that. All right, STS updates. The October training manual is going to be posted by the end of this week. So I'm in the process of PDFing that and bookmarking, and that will be posted, will be sent over to marketing and will be posted by the end of this week. The 2020 harvest analysis update, no change from the monthly webinar from our last call. Data is expected to be released next week, the week of 10/11, and you all will be notified when the data is available within the IQVIA platform and when it is ready for you to access. If you or your surgeon need assistance with their user credentials accessing the platform, please contact us at stsdb@sts.org. And if you have issues or you or your surgeon have issues with your user credentials, again, please contact us at stsdb@sts.org. 2021 harvest update. Again, no changes from our last call. The harvest close is still to be determined. As we have discussed on previous webinars, the CHSD task force would like to give you all the opportunity to review your 2020 data, make any changes, resubmissions, plenty of time before the 2021 harvest is set to close. Again, we are having only one harvest for 2021, and this harvest is going to include procedures up through 6/30/2021. So be sure you are continuing to submit your data and clean your data, and again, submit procedures up through June 30th of 2021. Friendly reminder, I'm sure you all are very aware, AQO is next week. Our congenital day is Friday, October the 15th. Also, just a friendly reminder, with the free registration, you all have access to all programs. So you can join the InterMax PDMax Day, check it out if you're interested, general thoracic, adult cardiac. Again, we encourage you to join in on the other sessions, take advantage of this free registration, learn more about the other databases. If you have any questions or still need to register, all the information that you need can be found out on the STS website, the data managers page. If you have any issues accessing that page, just feel free to email me directly. And I think, Carol, if you could put a link to this data managers AQO meeting in the chat box, that would be great.
Yes, ma'am, I'm on it.
Thank you. And literally, that's all that I have from the STS side today. I do not have any additional information at this time. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Joe and Melanie.
Great. Thank you, Leanne. Good afternoon, everybody. Just a recap of some things to go over with you today from the IQVIA side. Some known issues in regard to the missing variable report that will be resolved in an upcoming release, STS 6892. The MVR is currently flagging data elements as missing even when the demographics form version is prior to when those variables were added. And so we will be adjusting the report logic to correctly take into account the demographics form version so that those are not flagged incorrectly. STS 7282, the anesthesia adverse event update to the calculation will be added to the MVR report. So that will be, currently the MVR is not showing you when anesthesia adverse event is missing, and we'll be correcting that in our next in an upcoming update. And then STS 7271, also in addition to the anesthesia adverse event, the COVID-19 variables, temp code and temp date, as well as the hematocrit prior to circulatory arrest or cerebral perfusion. Data elements will also be corrected and added into the MVR report for you. The items here related to the primary procedure report should be resolved for you in an update for October 11th. So next week. STS 7126, the primary procedure mismatch report exception rule 1 is currently being ignored and using the general rule, resulting in the VSD repairs being displayed as the recommended primary, and the STS 7240, the exception rule related to codes 1280 and 1660 are not being recognized. And so we have identified specific scenarios where those codes are not being correctly calculated, and we're working to get that corrected for you next week as well. And then the next slide is just a recap. So for the missing variable report, the items that are missing are the temp code for COVID-19, the temp date for COVID-19, anesthesia adverse event, and the hematocrit prior to circulatory arrest or cerebral perfusion. And that is all I had. As usual, if you have reported something that we didn't discuss today, please rest assured that we are looking into it. If you'd like an update, you're welcome to reach out to our team for more information. And we are working on other known issues that have been brought that we can share with you in the next webinar. And with that, I will turn things over to Melanie, who I believe is picking up the next portion.
Yep. Thank you, Joe, and good afternoon, everyone. So we're going to do an overview for the new report that's going to be released and available the week of, well, next week. It's going to be the week of 10/11. So let's go to the next slide. First and foremost, before I even jump into the overview, I just want to take a moment to thank all of the participants who conducted their review during the beta phase or our UAT phase for this report. We had surgeons, data managers, STS team, just spend time and be able to go through the reports, and really provided a lot of insight and provided a lot of guidance. So we want to, of course, thank you for your time and just recognize that your efforts tremendously helped us through this process. So we want to make sure that we give that shout out. All right, next slide. So let's talk about the key report benefits. This report, of course, is brand new in regards to the offering within the IQVIA platform. Previously, you all received this information via a PDF document from DCRI. Now you will be able to really interact with your data set that has been analyzed by DCRI. You'll be able to review your participant site data to basically have a deeper understanding of the data that you've submitted during the submission time period. You'll be able to, of course, review your participant data against the STS national aggregate. Key enhancements are the capability of being able to drill down into those results. And we're going to go through and give you a look at how you're able to review and see what cells within the reports are going to give you that drill down to the specific patient populations. And it's going to give you identifiers, patient ID, the operation ID, the surgery date. You will also have the ability to export the entire report in one single click. And that report will be generated into a PDF report. So you won't have to go into individual reports to gather the data. You can get that in one click. But if you did want to export specific tables within specific reports, you will also have that capability. Next slide. So just a couple of things, because it's been a while since we've done the close of that submission for this upcoming report. The last day of submissions for the spring fall 2020 harvest was Friday, January the 22nd, 2021. So anything that was done after that time period, any updates that were done after that time period, will not be included within that report data set. So DCRI conducts all of the analysis on a snapshot that is sent from IQVIA. So that information, once we had harvest close, we basically take the snapshot and then we package that up and we send that over to DCRI for them to conduct their analysis. Patients who discharge after the submission would not be included in the harvest analysis that's conducted by DCRI. And any changes, as I explained earlier, any changes to the data that occurred after the submission deadline would not be included in the harvest analysis that was conducted by DCRI. Any changes that happened after would be included in the next harvest report. Another thing to keep in mind is any site that opted out of a harvest report will not have access to select that reporting period in the report parameter page. So I'll give you, of course, a walkthrough of what that looks like in regards to the parameter page, similar to other reports that we have. Next slide. Another key point. Yes,
Melanie,
Carol.
I'm very sorry to interrupt. I just
It's
want to
okay.
elaborate a little bit further. Leanne, could you please go back? I just want to elaborate a little bit further on that fourth bullet point where it says any changes to the data that occurred after the submission deadline would not be included in the harvest analysis conducted by DCRI. Because we get a lot of questions on this for the other databases. When data managers would go in after the harvest close, they make updates to data that had a time frame that would have been included in the previous analysis. They make those changes after harvest close. Those changes will not be reflected in the data that was already sent to DCRI. So any changes you make in your data after harvest close will be reflected in the next harvest. So keep that in mind. And Melanie is going to show you more information where to verify if you've made updates to certain cases or things like that. But just be aware of that, because quite a few sites say, no, this is how it's in the database now, and my participant dashboard doesn't match my risk-adjusted dashboard. Melanie is going to talk more about that, but just be aware that any changes you make to records that are already in the warehouse after harvest close will be reflected on the next harvest, not on the current harvest that was already sent for analysis. So I really want to make that elaborate on that. So thank you.
No, thank you. Yep, we do get a lot of questions in regards to that. So we just want to make sure that everyone is on the same page with that understanding. All right, next slide. Oh, someone's phone may be going off. All right, thanks. So COVID-19 and analysis, just to also make sure that everyone is aware of this, and this information will also be included in the report overview. But patients that are identified as COVID-19 positive, they are excluded from analysis. And so the consideration for this harvest time period that we will be issuing, the specific time frame is going to be from 1/1/2020 through 6/30/2020. So any patients within that time period, if they are coded as COVID positive, and as you can see, the temp code field is what we are using to capture the response for the COVID-19 status. And then the options that the system will basically flag to exclude from the analysis are listed here. So all of these yes options basically are what is used to identify those patients, and DCRI does exclude those patients from analysis. Okay, next slide. So just wanted to call out key differences between analyzed and non-analyzed reports. And the two reports that we know will always come up as the comparison reports is the risk-adjusted dashboard, and then the participant dashboard. So the risk-adjusted dashboard is going to be the new report that will be enabled next week. The participant dashboard is currently what's available right now. So when we look at the differences, the risk-adjusted dashboard uses analyze report results. These analyze report results also will have analysis rules and criteria applied to that data set, and that's done on the DCRI side. After each scheduled harvest, the report is updated. Okay, so again, this information, this data set is a snapshot at that time, and that is not updated. Once the snapshot is taken, that report time period is going to use that snapshot. So once the data is analyzed by DCRI, they turn it around and return that data to IQVIA, and then we surface that information for that assigned harvest. The patient drill down is available. You'll be able to see details, but the access case link, which is usually what you're familiar with on the DQR, where you would have a link to navigate to the case form, is not available within the risk-adjusted report. Going over to the participant dashboard, this is what you use right now. This is available. This uses the non-analyzed report results, and that's the raw uploaded data that you submit through the uploader. There are no analysis rules or criteria that is applied to that data set. This information is updated automatically via the uploader using those files, and the data is available near real time. So it may take a couple of minutes after you upload to basically transfer that to the reporting database, but that's basically near real time. Okay, so that's transactional. If you ever hear that term in regards to updates or transactional, that is the participant dashboard. And then for the patient drill down, of course, you have that capability, but the additional capability is that you do have the access to the case link, which is going to allow you to navigate to that specific operation record, and you can review the form as a read-only form within the platform. Okay, so those are the key differences. Let's go to the next slide. I'm trying to think if I had anything else, so we're going straight in, maybe going straight into the, into the demo. So now with that, I'll go ahead and share my screen and we'll take a look at the report. Just give me one moment.
Sorry, Mel, I'm sitting here talking to myself. But yeah, I took mine, I stopped screen share, so you're good.
Okay, yep, got it. Let me just grab this window to bring it on over. But before I get there, I'm just going to show you, and my view is going to be different than your view in regards to what you're seeing at the moment. Okay, I'm also in our test environment. This is our UAT environment, but the new link that will be available in production will be the CHSD Risk-Adjusted Dashboard. So you'll see that as the new option once it's enabled, and you would just navigate using that link and it would bring you to the report parameter page. And the parameter page is going to allow you to select the reporting period for that harvest that's available. So over time, these entries will begin to get longer. You'll have additional entries as each harvest is, of course, completed by DCRI and the data set is returned back to IQVIA. Another entry would populate here. I did say earlier that if a site opts out from receiving a report, if that site who opted out navigates to this window and selects this dropdown, they actually would not see that reporting period that they opted out from. Okay, so just want to make sure that everyone is aware. If you opt out, you will not see an option for that reporting period. Okay, so I already have the report open. So this is going to be your main interface once you are, once the report has loaded, and you'll see that we have 3 columns. For those that are not participating in the anesthesia program, you will not see the anesthesia reports. So this site that I'm accessing, they have access to anesthesia, so we are able to see those additional reports. But if you're not participating in anesthesia, you will only see 2 columns, risk-adjusted and analytical reports, and the lesion-specific reports. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right. The other thing that I wanted to point out, and we'll come back to it in a few, but there's an option to export the report. This is the one-click option that will allow you to print all of these individual reports in one shot. And once it generates, it will provide you a PDF document. Okay, you do have the ability to export reports. Once you're in that report, you are able to export different reports. If you want to Excel, you're able to do that also. Okay, so let's just take a look at the table 1. Let's go to the first report. And another thing that I also forgot to indicate in the beginning is that there will be differences in regards to reports that were previously provided. There were decisions made where once we launched this initial iteration of this report, there were specific reports that the STS and surgeon leaders had decided and said, these are the reports that we're going to launch with. So these are not set in stone in regards to changes that potentially could happen. This definitely will be an evolving report, of course, based on feedback and based on more insights. So just know that at this point, it's not just set in stone. There's additional reports that potentially could be added. But this is not going to match one-to-one. If you were to go back to your historical report, you may see that there are some items that may not be available at this time. So just know that this is just the beginning. Okay, so coming in, you'll see that we have the comparison of the participant, and you'll always notice that on the participant view, you'll always have that blue heading. And then for the STS, you'll always have this red, almost reddish orange color for the STS. That will always be the constant color. So you'll know the difference between the two. Of course, within the participant side, you will have the availability to drill down and see information related to those specific results. If you see an asterisk next to the number, that will be your indicator that you're able to drill down and see further information for that. And so there's also, it's down here at the bottom, that it basically lets you know that the asterisk is indicating that it has patient drill down capability. Okay, and that's throughout the entire report. The other option that I want to make sure that I call out is that once you, of course, select the actual cell, you'll see that it will highlight, and then you can use the option where it says see details to then navigate you to the listing of those actual entries that are associated with that cell. Okay, and you will have the ability, of course, to export this list if you would like. You would use the same feature of right-clicking, similar to what you've done or have used in other reports that are available, and you can choose the option to export and export to a table, export to Microsoft Excel. Same functionality is available. Okay, and then to navigate back, you'll see that there is a button here that says back to report. Okay, so that information, as I said, you're able to look through all of this, and if you wanted to export this actual table for the participant, you're able to do that also. You're able to export. If you right click, it gives you the same options, and you can go in and do an export. Okay. Just want to make sure that you're aware of that too. So in order for you to go back to where you started, back on that home interface, you would use this home icon to navigate you back. Do not use the browser back button to go back to the previous page. It actually will take you all the way out of the report and reset everything. So the easiest way, of course, to navigate is to use this home icon, and it will bring you back to your main page. And with that, you would be able to navigate to each of these sections. I'll go ahead and go into the Model 1 Table 16 report. We'll take a look at that. And here you will see you have information that, of course, is broken down. There are a couple of changes from the previous historic report in regards to how the categories were displayed. Basically, it's been flipped. You'll see that it starts off with neonates plus infants plus children plus adults. I believe in the previous version, it was the other way around. So we started off with this grouping. The other thing that you will also see is that there is a statement that is going to display, and this is dynamic depending on your results. This actually will update. It will say observed mortality is as expected based on your institution's case mix, or it could be observed mortality is below. There's, I believe, 3 statements, and we do have corresponding information within the report overview. And also we will have a walkthrough document, and basically we'll have that information available so you know what is there. And then we have a statement that also is just making sure that it's clarified that the data within this table is for the 4-year analytic window, and it gives you the time period that this report is associated with. Okay, again, same functionality in regards to selecting an actual cell and then wanting to drill down. Again, you would just select and then select the See Details button to then see the results associated with that cell. Okay, and again, down at the bottom, there is a footnote just to indicate that the asterisk is your indicator to know that you can drill down on that actual result. So a couple of other things that we wanted to highlight. There are some new tables that we've included within table 18 and 19. So we'll go ahead and take a look at that. But there was information within the anesthesia reports that it was expressed that it was meaningful information that should be shared across all sites. So that information that was added is related to the extubated in the OR, time to initial extubation, and also re-intubated for respiratory failure. So those options were, or those tables were added to this table. So you're able to now see that information. And as you can see, again, if you wanted to drill down on items that have an asterisk, you're able to, again, select that cell and then make sure to select See Details to see the report. Again, you'll have a statement that is indicating the time period that you're reviewing, and then just a note to make sure that this is something that is immediately something that you can review, is that post-operative length of stay calculation includes operative mortalities, just to make sure that everyone is aware when reviewing those results. Okay, so just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of this new information that is now provided within table 18, and also table 19 has been updated. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me just make sure that I think I scrolled down to everywhere. Yep. So sample size was in the previous report, but you'll see I just had to scroll down And you can see that sample size. That's the last section within this report. It is available. Okay. Navigating over to table 19. You'll see that in table 19, similar information from the previous report, but again, wanted to point out that we also have included extubated in the OR, time to initial extubation, and re-intubated for respiratory failure. Okay, and then rounding that out, your sample size information. All right, moving to the figure 7, or all patients operative mortality by stat mortality. This information is laid out a little bit different, where it does have the tabular information at the top. So we were used to seeing the tabular information, but we also have a graph that represents that information down below. So this graph component, I just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware of the fact that you're able to zoom in. At the very bottom, you'll see that there is a slider to be able to zoom in on the specific sections for each of the respective categories. So we have all patients and each of the stat categories. And if you wanted to zoom in, you would just slide that slider down at the bottom, and then you can see for each of the categories, you're then able to see the STS comparator, and the legend is here at the top. Let me just scroll up so you can see. You'll see that the legend gives you the information in regards to each of the lines and what that represents. So the dotted line, the dotted red line is the STS. And you'll see that if you hover over that line, it will give you the associated value that's listed at the top. And then you'll see that there is a black line, solid black line, which is the my site. And again, it gives you the value that's listed at the top for the section or the category of all patients. Okay, so if you can see again, if you wanted to zoom in, move this out some, you just move that slider and you're able to then see the information and where that falls. And you can tell by the legend where you have the darker blue that it's falling in the 95 confidence interval. Okay, and then of course you'll have your min and max, and then of course anything out of range is represented in the white. Okay, but that is how you would navigate and view this information. Now, if you were to export this actual report using that feature that I showed earlier with the export report button, if you use that, and let's just say that you came in here and you made this adjustment, the export, the printed result, is going to leave the settings of how you had it in that moment. Okay, so just wanted to call that out. So if I were to export it at this time as is, it will go ahead and capture this as my snapshot, and that's what would print in the report. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, and then you'll see on here, of course, there's no drill down capability. You see that there's no button for see details. And of course, you see there's no asterisks related to this. So this information, of course, no drill down, just based on not having the asterisks, and of course, no see details. Okay. Let me go to the extubated in the OR, because this is also a new report, which is graphs, and this gives you a visual of the extubated in the OR, and you'll see over here on the right each of the colors and what they represent. So if you see any blue, it represents missing. No is represented by this reddish orange color, and then yeses are represented by the yellow. So just scrolling down so you can see, and I actually was scrolling in this earlier today, so let me just bring it back. See, it keeps the settings. So you can see all of the categories. You're getting information based on the age groups and then based on the procedures. Okay, this information is listed like that. And again, if you were to leave that Zoom, if you were to adjust this and export, it will print just as how you've left it. So please keep that in mind. If you want to make sure that all of these are visible at the time of exporting, just make sure that this slider is reset. In a quick way, if you're saying, well, how do I know? Do I have to go back in and reset each of these if I want to print? You can always just rerun the report by basically coming here where you have this arrow and you can just hit apply parameter. When you do that action, it actually just resets everything back to the baseline. Okay, so you're able to do that. So just wanted to call that out. Okay, so, and this is interactive. So if I did want to just highlight and just see all my no's, if you notice that I just clicked on that and then it basically shades out the rest. If I just wanted to see my yeses, then you're able to click that and see those responses. Okay, and then to bring it back, all I did was just click anywhere outside of those items, those legend items, and it brings it right back. Okay. All right, so taking a look, and I want to be mindful of time just in case we, of course, have questions. Taking a look, we have the lesion specific reports. I'll go into one, but of course, some of the information is going to probably look a little bit different, but in general, they basically look the same. So let's just go into the ASDs, and you can see here you have the breakdown and the groupings. So we have the demographics, which include your incidence, age, gender, that's associated with demographics. As you scroll down, you'll see all of the different groupings. And we did try to make sure that the groupings had like an alternate shading so that it's easy to be able to see those groupings. And then the other thing to call out is the functionality, of course, to be able to drill down. So with the items that you see the asterisks, again, you would just select that actual cell and then select see details, and then you would see the results for that cell. Okay. So let's go back to the main and we'll take a look. I'll jump over to anesthesia. Let's take a look at all operations. You'll see similar in regards to the layout with the groupings. And again, taking a look at being able to see the records that were collected and to get a list of those records, you'll see that you have those options again with an asterisk. You can go ahead and drill down into that information. Okay. And just going back, the additional tables that they have are being able to review CPB, no CPB cardiovascular operations. And then they also have the CPB, no CPB cardiovascular operations by age group. So I'll just go ahead and I'll just click on that so you can see. And again, similar layout, same functionality, being able to have the capability to do the drill down. And then also, let me go into, and these are all the same. It's just in regards to the layout. We have time to initial extubation by age group, and then we have also by procedures. And just because there were procedures that we needed to we didn't want to cram everything into one screen, we broke that out. So this is again procedures that have been continued. So we can take a look at the age group. And these are all graphs. And so here they're able to review information. And again, we have sliders that are available. And so we have time to initial extubation if not extubated in the OR. And then if they wanted to zoom in to a specific, here we go, let me just do this. They're able to come to specific areas within that graph. And once this item is selected, either this actually will give drill down capability. This should also, let's see if it's giving here. Yep. So once you select that, it will allow the user to go in and drill down to see information related to that section. So these are all of the cases that fall within that section that I just selected. So they're able to see that. And then, of course, the additional details that are available down below in regards to the counts, the median, the 10th percentile, the first quartile, third quartile, and then the 90th percentile. So that information. And again, the drill down is only going to be applicable for the participant information. Okay, same concept in regards to exporting. If I were to leave this as is, it would print or export in this view. All right. Let me just navigate back. One other thing before I stop, I just want to also share that we will be sharing a resource with the user community where you're able to see calculations. And let me see if I can find it. Give me a moment. Where you're able to see the calculations that drive the actual report. So give me one moment and let me just pull that up. I thought that I had it open, but I think I closed it by accident. Let's just get it back. All right, so then let me just bring this back. And so this is a spreadsheet that actually will be another resource that you will be able to access. We will have this posted in the library, and you will be able to see per each report. So this version that I'm looking at right now is a mock version. We are working on a cleaned up version, but this will give you line by line according to the actual report. So you'll see that there's tabs at the very bottom. Each tab will have, of course, that actual report. And for this one that I'm highlighted on, this is for table 1. And so for table 1, we have the criteria in regards to the definitions, the calculations that are listed in the report, and then down below for each line. So the category is number of operations in patient, and this is going to apply to STS, participant, both. We will indicate if the calculation applies to both. If it only applies to the participant, it will list as participant. Okay, if it's only for the STS, you'll see STS. And so for each line, you'll see that there is an associated calculation of what's being done for those results in order for us to present that on the report. So we're hoping that, and again, this is going to be available for each associated report. So here's another example of, this is for the table 7. And you can see with this report, similar to the last, but the difference here, we're calculating on the age groups. Okay, and then we're looking at specific age groups in order for it to generate for each respective category. Okay, so again, this information is going to be available to at least help you navigate and understand how certain calculations were derived, and you can see basically the how the results are presented. Okay. All right. So I will stop my share at this point. Let me just stop there. So Leanne, I'll turn it back over to you. I'm not sure if maybe I think we have Chastity and Leslie on, if maybe they want to give any feedback regarding, they were very closely working with me and my team with this launch. So if there's anything you would want to share, please.
Hey, it's Leslie. I don't have anything specific, but just was going to say that I think it's a huge improvement, and it really has been helpful to kind of drill down and figure out what was even going into these tables without having to submit additional requests.
I agree. This is Chastity, and I'll second what Leslie said. Melanie, I think you did a great job with the overview, and there's not anything that I would add. I think once you get your reports, there probably will be, lots of questions, and we'll be ready to answer those for you.
Great. Thank you, guys. That was an excellent overview, Mel. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so we have a few questions. So let's go ahead and let me finish up go through these last slides, and then we'll tackle some questions. We have about 10 minutes left. Again, IQVIA support plan you all are very familiar with. Again, just please include your participant ID number in your communications. List of resources that are available to you. If you, again, once the reports come out and you have questions regarding your report, please reach out to STS Tech Support at IQVIA.com. Again, just one thing, I know a lot of people come to me directly with questions. Just a friendly reminder, I don't have access to the data, to your data like I used to in the past. So just know that I am personally not able to go in and look at your reports and interpret and try and answer some questions for you. So if you can, with your report related questions, if you could please start with STS Tech Support at IQVIA.com, and then we can go from there. If there's something that I need to address, Tech Support will reach out to me or pass your question along to me for assistance. But again, please reach out to Tech Support for any report-related questions that you may have. Let's see here. Next, again, a list of, here's my contact information, my direct email and phone, as well as, again, just a reminder, if your surgeons need assistance with their credentials, accessing the database, once the reports are available next week, please reach out to us at stsdb@sts.org, and Jane and her team can assist with their credentials to access the platform. Upcoming webinars, our next monthly webinar is scheduled for right after AQO, October 21st. Then we'll follow up with our user group call on November 2nd. And then our November monthly webinar is scheduled for November the 18th. So if you have any questions, just please reach out and mark your calendars. And as always, marketing will be sending friendly reminders for upcoming webinars. All right, that's all that I have from my perspective. I see, again, we have lots of questions. So let's go ahead and move on to our questions and tackle those, Mel and team. Our first question from McCall, re-ops, no CBB or ECMO with missing data and pre-op factors appear in MVR. And that, McCall, I think you had submitted this to tech support earlier today. Let's see, is this correct? The risk model includes pre-op factors of reoperation data. So I think, Joe, you and your team were looking into that, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We do have a team member assigned to that ticket, and they will be getting back to you and looking into that for you.
Excuse me. Let's see, Don, when will the drill down be available on risk-adjusted dashboard report? Mel, I think you covered that already. There is drill down available within the risk-adjusted dashboard. For sites that opted out, where will the benchmarks be to utilize locally? Now, Mel, correct me if I'm wrong. If for sites that opted out, they will not have access to the benchmarks, to the report, correct?
That's correct. They will not have the date option. It will not appear in the drop down. So it basically stops you at that point.
Right. And I apologize. I think I may have misspoke earlier, early on when we were talking about the reporting. I thought, I may have misspoke and said that sites that opted out would have access to the benchmark data only, but that's not an option for this, maybe for the dashboard. So I apologize for misspeaking about that earlier. I think this is more for, this one may be for you, Dr. Jacobs, Dr. Meyer, for the mortality analysis risk
Yeah.
model. Is weight variable, neonates and infants, birth weight or surgical weight?
So there's the weight variable itself is weight at surgery. But there's also an adjustment that's made for neonates and infants related to the presence or absence of prematurity. So although birth weight is not part of the model, prematurity is part of the model. But the answer to the question on the screen is that the weight variable in the model is surgical weight. And all of the details are documented in the publication about the risk model that's published in the Annals of Thoracic Surgery. There's a table of what the variables are, how they're defined, and how they're utilized in the model.
I think they're also available in the last report, aren't they?
In the report overview, correct, John? Absolutely. Yeah. They're also available in the report overview, and then the report overview then provides the reference of the Annals manuscripts that may go into a little bit more detail. You're absolutely right, John.
Yep, and Kelly, if you need a link to that manuscript, or just email me and I can send you a link to it. Will there be star ratings included in this report? So on table 16, yep, there you go, Doctor. I'll let you handle this one, Dr. Meyer.
Yeah. No, we decided that we would not be reporting the star ratings. Remember, though, that they correspond to, better than expected, as expected, or worse than expected, as 3 stars, 2 stars, 1 star, respectively. But they will not be reported per se as stars.
Excellent, thank you. All right, from Becky, figure 7 is based on participant raw mortality data. Is there any way to see the risk-adjusted mortality in a similar figure? Seems that both sets of data would be helpful to be seen on the graph. So this is something that we could look at, Dr. Jacobs and others. Do you just thought it's something we could look at future reporting?
Yep, I think that's a good idea.
I agree. It won't be this harvest, but it's certainly something we should look at for the future.
Yep.
Yep, we could add that to one of our elaboration calls, Mel. All right, our pregnancy Dawn, I think, Dawn or Joe, I think this may be a follow-up to a question that you were assisting with, Dawn, on pregnancy complications.
If it is STS, what was the number? 6892, that will cover pregnancy complications not appearing incorrectly in the MVR. So that should be resolved with that bug.
Ruthie, so thank you for adding the calculations. I agree. I think the calculation spreadsheet is going to be a super valuable resource for you guys. So I'm excited for you guys to have that. And Melanie and her team has done a great job with that spreadsheet. So that's going to be a great resource for you all. Time to initial extubation graphs will only be available to those sites that participate in the anesthesia. We do not participate in anesthesia, but we enter that data on the post-op tab and would like to be able to see those graphs. Am I understanding this correctly?
So the graphs, there's graphs that are underneath the anesthesia section, but we've added this information in table 18 and 19. So time to initial extubation. So they're not graphs, but the information, the data is available on table 18 and 19.
Right.
And this is regardless of whether you participate in anesthesia or not. This is for every site.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
This was new information that was added for every site this year. Prior to report being released, will beta testers be able to preview report to see fixes to address concerns? We have gone through the STS, we've gone through, Ruthie, and gone through all the feedback and made sure those fixes have been addressed and have been fixed. So we have gone through and reviewed that to make sure all of those issues during beta testing have been resolved and have been implemented prior to release.
Yeah, Chastity, and this is Carol. Chastity and Leslie did that for us.
Mhm.
Very meticulously and with great care.
Yes, ma'am. Let's see. Will COVID positive patients be excluded from future analysis? Those after the time frame 1/1/2020 to 6/30/2020. So the COVID positive patients are being excluded from analysis. I do know the task force is, or the STS surgeon leadership is reviewing a specific time frame of when they may start initiating, or a time frame of when we will look at these COVID positive patients. I don't know if Carol has any other information she wanted to add about the COVID data, or the time frame the test the surgeon leadership's looking at. I just know that there are ongoing discussions by surgeon leadership.
Yeah, currently they're still being excluded preoperatively and then within 30 days postoperatively.
Can you repeat what date the report will be available? So the report will be available next week. We will send you we'll send all participants an email once that data is available and ready for you all to access in the IQVIA platform. So you should be getting that email first thing next week. So Janet had wanted to know where the risk-adjusted, where the benchmark data would be. So at this time, just like with the previous DCRI reports, if you had opted out don't have access to the STS benchmarks. So right now it's the same principle with the IQVIA dashboard. If you opt out, you don't have access to, you don't get access to that reporting, that report for that harvest.
Hey, Leanne, this is Carol. I would also add on that the, although it's not analyzed data, the participant dashboard provides the STS data in the participant dashboard. Right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
The STS comparison.
Yeah. So you could use that as a benchmark for some of those variables, even though it's not analyzed.
Right. Yeah, and it's not risk adjusted. Where will the report overview be located for? So the analysis overview will be in the IQVIA library. So that will be available. All your resource documents for the report will be in the IQVIA library. So you'll have the report calculation spreadsheet, as well as the analysis overview. And I'm sorry, I was talking to myself on mute earlier, so I apologize if I got super quiet there. All right, Autumn, the report looks great. Can't wait to get my hands on it. And we're super excited for you guys to get the report as well, Autumn. We're anxious to hear your feedback, so we're super excited. And there's been Mel and her team and the STS team, there's been a lot of many hours, and a lot of hard work has gone into this. So we look forward to sharing this with you all and getting it in your hands finally. So, all right. Does anyone have anything else they would like to share? I don't see any additional questions. I have a couple of minutes after the hour, so I just want to be respectful of everyone's time. And just know also, I know Melanie covered a lot of information today on her overview. And as always, this call is recorded and will be posted out on the STS webinars page. So if you do need to go back and review, the recording will be out there and available to you all to review once the reports are coming out, once the reports are out, and if you have other questions.
And Leanne, if I could add that if you have, when the data comes out next week and you have your reports, if you would submit your questions to the FAQ portal, and because likely if you have a question, everybody else has the same question. And then that way on the next webinar, we'll be able to give everybody the questions that they now have since they've seen their data and want to understand more functionality. So if you would pre-submit your questions, that would be great. And that way we can get you the best answers or figure things out if there's something going on within the tables we didn't anticipate.
Very good. Yep. We have our monthly webinar right after AQO. So again, that's one of the things that we'd like to tackle, cover some of the common questions that we're receiving from the reports. And so that's, one of the things we could clear up and cover on the next webinar. All right. That's all that I have for today. If you guys don't have any other questions, thank you, Melanie, Jill, IQVIA. Melanie, that was a great overview. I appreciate all your hard work on that. And thank you, Chastity, Leslie, the beta testers, all of you, Dr. Jacobs, Dr. Meyer, everyone. Thank you for your time. I mean, I know we've all put in a lot of hours working on this dashboard and this risk-adjusted dashboard. So just thank you, everyone. And I appreciate you all very much. So we look forward to hearing your feedback. And again, please reach out if you have any questions. We're happy to assist. Thank you, everyone. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week.